This is the Urban Binge Radio. Sunday Flow.
Anyway, let's get into some more news. I wanted to talk about Bernice King and the deaths caused her to feel angry. So I was reading up on Dr. Bernice King because, like I said, I want to interview her. And before I interview her, I want to make sure that I'm refreshed on my questions, because just because she's my mentor and I know her personally doesn't mean I know all of her business. So, and I'm keen to knowing everything about the King family, but mostly about Dr. King and Coretta Scott King. And that's a study in itself. And then you want to move over to Yolanda King, which is the oldest. And I closed it. Jody just opened it. And she is a study within herself, as of course she recently passed out and died after her mom. So, I feel like you have to study them in order, and everybody is a class in studying this family. So in reading, I read that Bernice King at one point had to seek out counseling or a psychiatrist because she was so angry. She was angry at all of the offenses that were being made towards her family being bombed.
I realized when Montgomery started that this was probably the reason we were called to Montgomery. After my house was bombed, and of course all the threats on my husband's life, on my life too, I realized I could have been killed as well, because I was in the house when the bomb hit the front porch with my young baby, and the callers had been calling, and they said that they were going to bomb our house, told my husband they were going to bomb his house and kill his family if he didn't leave town in 3 days. Of course he didn't leave town in 3 days, and they did bomb the house. So knowing that they meant what they said, because they actually did bomb the house, that the bomb was not strong enough to destroy the house. But if it had been, then that would have been very, very sad for all of us, certainly for me and my baby and my husband. But the fact is that I had to deal with the fact that if I continued in the struggle, I too could be killed. And that's when I started praying very seriously about my commitment and whether or not I would be able to stick with my husband to continue in the struggle. And of course, it wasn't that difficult. It was a struggle, but I knew that we were doing the right thing. I always felt that what was happening in Montgomery was part of God's will and purpose.
Her family being mistreated, her family being just treated all kind of ways, really made her angry in life. And so I can imagine with her father being assassinated, then her uncle the following year dying in a swimming pool, and then in 1974, early 1970, I believe, her grandmother shot and killed in the church where you're supposed to feel like you're safe at.
Beg pardon? The color of the suit? He had on his tan suit, looked like maybe some... He also stated that he attended Sunday school at the church and then attended regular church services. At approximately 11 a.m., Chenault allegedly pulled 2 pistols that he had concealed and began firing both weapons. Mrs. King and Deacon Boykin were fatally injured. A third person attending the services, Mrs. Jimmy Mitchell, was wounded. She is listed in good condition at Grady Hospital. Witnesses stated that Chenault shouted something similar to, "I am tired of all of this." When the witnesses recovered from the shock of the shootings, several members of the church congregation grabbed Chenault and held him until police arrived. We took him into the custody, and the investigation is, as I stated before, continuing. Chenault stated that he received orders from his God to come to Atlanta and kill Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. He also stated that the reason he shot Mrs. King was because she was nearest to him.
A loud noise and pow! Miss King said, "Ooh, that sounds like a bomb." And all of a sudden, he just was on the seat when I saw him. It was done so quickly. And then you just heard the shot, heard him shooting, bow, bow, bow. I'm in charge. I'm in charge. Then people began falling on the seats and running and getting panicky, Because I tried to get on the seat myself, but I knew he had already shot me when I tried to get under the seat. But what I thought, if he shot me once and he was right there by me, he might shoot me again. So I was trying to get under the seat to keep from getting killed.
The police feel that they've got an open and shut case against Sheard. But to make sure that he was operating alone, they need to trace his movements as closely as possible. So they're asking any taxi drivers who might have carried this man yesterday morning to contact the homicide squad. Robert Cohen, WSB News.
So what left is there to think besides, am I next? Am I next? Am I going to be messed with next? And I don't want to be bothered with. Because if I'm bothered with, then I'm not going to do what my daddy did, non-violence. I'm using violence.
I know I can't reach over there and hit you, but I can hit you with this damn 15. I promise you, I can hit you dead with this 15 if you don't shut your damn mouth.
Mabel, you hit me with that damn 15, and I promise you, it's gonna be 30 when it gets back over there.
And that's how Bernice felt. So she wanted to seek out counseling so that she doesn't feel those ways and lash out in an angry way, something that her father has been so against for all of his short life. But also something that I really want to know is life in ATL. Life in ATL, how is it after Dr. King dies? Is the mayor getting Coretta Scott King and her family security? When life is changing, times are changing. After he died, it was like he had to die to get this right, is what it seems like. He was a sacrifice, my God. And with his sacrificial came the right away. But with that, I wonder if they got security or if they got taken care of, because Bernice King went to Douglas High School. That's Doug High in the ATL. I want to know, how was it being the Dr. King's children still wanting to go to Atlanta public schools, seeing your father everywhere around the school. Literally, you go to social media class and you're learning about your father, seeing things that you didn't know and seeing things that that you did know, seeing things that they might not have had accurate at all, that you felt like, wait a minute, that's not true, that's not how that went. I'm intrigued in knowing, I'm intrigued. I want to know, what was it like? What was her thought process, and what was it like in those times? Just being the daughter of Dr. King, living in a 70s and 80s Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? I can pretty much tell how the 90s was, but what about the 80s and the 70s of Atlanta? So anyway, we're going to get into some more music. We will be right back. Thank you guys. This is the Sunday Flow Show, the Urban Binge Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be right back.
We have information that King has been shot at the Lorraine. Take 10, he has been shot. Okay, Tac 10 advising King has been shot, 604. Tac 11, do you want us to pull down? Check Tac 11 to pull down. Okay, Tac 11. In the area? A signal Q. King has been shot. Now. All TAC units on the call, you are to form a ring around the Lorraine Hotel. You're to form a ring around the Lorraine Hotel. No one is to enter or leave. King, we have information that the shot came from a brick building directly east across, west from the Lorraine. The TAC 10 has information the shot was fired from a brick building directly across from the Lorraine on the east side, directly across from the Lorraine on the east side from a brick building, 606. All units, that's all units, 150 advised, and all TAC units to seal this area off completely. There's a weapon in front of 424, and the subject ran south on Main Street. Down on Main Street, the subject responsible for the shooting is running south on Main Street. The subject ran south from that location, 607. Not to touch the weapon is not to be touched, 607. Repeating information, the subject ran south on Main from 424. A young white male well-dressed ran south from 424 at South Main, 608. For information, the subject may be in a late model white Mustang, north on Main Street, 610.
Dr. Martin Luther King was received in the emergency room at St. Joseph Hospital at approximately 6:15 p.m.
Well, I just was told that he had been shot. The report I got was in the shoulder. It was serious. That was the report I got from Reverend Andrew Young.
He is in the emergency room and he is in critical condition.
And there was 20 or 30 doctors, and they tried external heart massage, and his respiration muscles were paralyzed and everything else was paralyzed, and he would have lost all his sensations. He still didn't have any blood.
You understand, really a massive wound.
I've never seen a wound like this. 7:05 p.m., April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King was pronounced dead.
Don't you know there's no need to leave? there's only you and me. Yeah. Believe in us. We were always meant to be. Me for you and you for me. Till eternity. Heaven knows it's not the way. Heaven knows. Don't know. Love is what I need. Heaven knows. Heaven knows. Oh, baby. Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know? Love is what I need. 'Cause I love you and I need you. Yes, I want you. Gotta have you. Oh, baby, where were you when I needed you? Oh, heaven only knows. Heaven only knows. Yeah. Said heaven only knows that I love you, babe. Said I feel real good when I'm with you. Baby, you know just what to do. You love me right, you love me good. Always love me like you should now. Yeah. Lord knows I need you. I'll do anything to be with you. 'Cause I love you. I love you. Baby, love is what I need. Heaven knows.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now. Because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
This is a CBS News special report.
Dan Rather reporting for CBS News from New York. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was shot to death by an assassin late today as he stood on a balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King had planned to lead another civil rights march in Memphis next Monday.
This is the Urban Binge Radio. Sunday Flow.
There was. That was Something on the Inside So Strong. A lot of people can't find that song. That song is not located on the Wild Gospel album. The CD, I think, is only located on the cassette tape, Wild Gospel 2002, 2003, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. 2002, 2003, whatever I put on the screen. Whatever was on the screen. But I definitely know it's on the DVD. Not the DVD, but the tape. My mom had the VHS tape, so I definitely am sure it is on the VHS tape. That video that you just watched is at the end. The very last song before the credits go up is that song featuring Coretta Scott King. It's like a surprise bonus track. And I mean, I literally love that song. It's kind of like We Are the World, kind of, sort of, but just, you know, a dedication to Rosa Parks from a lot of the gospel singers. I'm assuming that had a contract with Verity or Variety Records, however you say their name, Verity or Variety Records. I never knew how to say it. Vicky Mac, I believe that's the lady who used to own it, Vicky Mac Lataya, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so let's move on. And then we had also B. Slade. I'm sorry. I know you guys are like, you're going to play that man whole album. No, I'm not. Mind your business. I'm not going to play his whole album. And that wasn't even on the album. I Am a Man is on his Bandcamp. You can only find that on the Bandcamp. That is a single that he released about 2 or 3 years ago, or 1 year ago, but I believe it's like 2 or 3 years ago when he released the single I Am a Man, dedicated to Dr. King, as a matter of fact. And I love that song. The man, like I said, is a masterclass in itself. If you desire to sing like a bird, if you desire to just really blow, then you got to know who B. Slade is. You got to know who Tone is. A lot of R&B singers, Usher, Tank, all of them know who this man is. He is like the greatest male vocalist in the skin color black, or in the male singing industry. Hell, this man has range like no other. If you know Tone, then you know. If you know B. Slade, then you know what I'm talking about. This man can blow. He's like no other. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I cannot thank you enough. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, guys, and make sure you listen on the podcast, the Urban Binge Radio podcast. Thank you so much.
Coretta Scott King's little-known history as an LGBTQ advocate. Coretta Scott King is remembered by most as the wife of Martin Luther King Jr. and a fierce advocate for racial equality in her own right. But did you know she was also a warrior for the LGBTQ community? The civil rights activist has been credited for making room for the LGBTQ community in the civil rights movement, a controversial move in the late 80s and early 90s. She faced backlash for her involvement with LGBTQ rights. Critics believe she should have paid her full attention to racial equality instead.
I still hear people say that I should not be talking about the rights of lesbian and gay people, and I should stick to the issue of racial justice. But I hasten to remind them that Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."
In 1983, Coretta asked openly gay poet Audre Lorde to speak at a rally celebrating the 20th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington. It was considered an unofficial welcome to the LGBTQ community from Coretta, the King Center, and the civil rights movement as a whole. In 1993, Coretta held a press conference urging President Bill Clinton to repeal his Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, banning LGBTQ people from serving openly in the military. It would be 2011 before President Barack Obama repealed the rule. Coretta eventually shifted her focus to legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide. She publicly denounced President George W. Bush's support for a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage and fearlessly fought for nationwide same-sex marriage until her death in 2006. The Supreme Court wouldn't rule for nationwide same-sex marriage until 2015, 9 years after Coretta's death. Share to spread Coretta's legacy of inclusion.
We are extremely fortunate to have Coretta Scott King with us here today. Mrs. King is one of the most respected women in the world, and she happens to be my boss. She is a leading activist. She stood with her husband, Martin Luther King Jr. She's the founder of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change here in Atlanta. Many don't know that she was a concert singer. She gave up her career basically, but during the movement, she sang at these freedom concerts that portrayed the movement and raised money for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. King's organization. I'm very proud to also note that during the 20th anniversary of the March on Washington, Mrs. King led the largest coalition on a human rights issue. And during that time, there were some folks that didn't want gays and lesbians participating, but it was Mrs. King who led the coalition and said, yes, they have a place at the table, and made sure we were there. So without further delay, people of the world, listen, think, and act, and welcome Mrs. Coretta Scott King to your stage. Coretta Scott King!
Men, I appreciate your active commitment to human rights for all people. And I want to express my appreciation to the Atlanta Pride Committee for inviting me to join you today and for organizing this impressive demonstration of solidarity and hope. One of the reasons I wanted to join you today is to affirm my wholehearted support of freedom from discrimination for lesbian and gay people. I do so because I believe that all forms of persecution is wrong. As my husband Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have fought too long and hard against segregated public accommodations to end up segregating my moral concerns. Justice is indivisible. The civil rights movement that I believe in thrives on unity and inclusion, not division and exclusion. All of us who oppose discrimination and support equal rights should stand together to resist every attempt to restrict civil rights in this country. Another reason for joining together in coalitions is that we share common adversaries. The church burners and the gay bashers drink from the same poisonous well of hatred and male violence. And very often they are one and the same. In this important election year, we share a critical interest in the election of candidates who will support and protect human rights. I would urge everyone who believes in Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of a nation free from bigotry and discrimination to vote against attempts to deny the promise of America to any citizen. The series of church burnings over the last 18 months bring a timely reminder that we should be very concerned about hate groups and extremists who commit violent acts against minorities. In addition, we share concern about candidates who hope to win votes by bashing gay and lesbian people and pandering to the irrational fears and ignorance of the constituents. Let's make 1996 be the year that we put tolerance and human rights for all people in the forefront of our national agenda. Finally, I want to assure you that I will continue to support you in your efforts to rid our country and the nation of all forms of bigotry, of racism, sexism, and homophobia. And now is the time to educate yourselves and your fellow voters about the candidate's position on discrimination issues. Most importantly of all, I hope you will make a commitment to get out and vote on Election Day so we can turn this country around and create a society where all people can live together with respect, tolerance, and a new spirit of hope and opportunity. With this commitment, together, we shall overcome. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, let's give it up. It's Coretta Scott King.
What a beautiful woman.
Thank you,
Beautiful woman.
Fun fact number 7, Coretta Scott King stood up for gay rights in support of gay marriage and once stated that her husband would have been also. So she did state that her husband would have been a proud advocate of gay rights and gay marriage. Although Bernice King has publicly opposed to that and opposed that her father would support it. She actually believes differently. She also did that march that I remember attending when I was about 7 years old, because if you guys don't remember, I was partially raised at New Birth most of my life. The church that I was raised at the most was New Birth. But we did do that march. My mom went to New Birth faithfully every Sunday, every Wednesday night. Then when Bible study changed to Tuesday night, my mom was there every Tuesday night. But we were there faithfully, and we went to the march from the Capitol to the King Center, and we had to march in silence. But I never knew it was a march against gays, from what the news say. Bernice King came and cleaned that up real quick and said that was not what that was about. And this is why a lot of people were so upset with Bishop Long, because it felt like you're doing these marches, you're preaching against homosexuality, but you're being accused of the very thing that you preach against. So that was the thing that people got really upset about. But for the most part, Bernice King said she did not leave for that purpose. She didn't leave for that reason. But now Bernice King did write a letter in support of gay marriage to Kamala Harris or Barack Obama, something recently, when Barack was president, or Kamala or something like that, in support of. So her views have changed. Her views was one way, they've changed. I've always thought Bernice King was very masculine, but it could come from so much trauma happening in her life that she feels like she has to put on a demeanor like her father's, a don't step to me type of demeanor. Don't play with me, don't try me, because I'm standing up for what's right over here. So that's what her demeanor has always been like. She got a gun on her side and another one on the other side. They're like, I bust a cap. And let's not forget, she is from the ATL, Fulton County. Okay, y'all? So Bernice King might can go there.
King, Elder Bernice King. A lot of things been going on around in the media about you. And I just want you to share with our listeners from your heart.
And I'm here to do that. I know there's been a lot of speculation, many comments about my departure from New Birth. But I want you, and I'm asking you and your audience to take my word for what I'm going to share on this afternoon. And I want you to know that I chose this forum because we've been here every week consistently for the past, hear this, 8 months with you and your audience. And I know you, and I trust you, and your audience, your listeners, should I say, know me, and I hope that they trust me. And so I feel comfortable here, and what I want to do is to just do what you said, share my heart concerning my future ministry plans with you and your listeners first. And let me start by just clarifying and letting all of your listeners and others who've tuned in today to know that after 8 years and 8 months, that number keeps coming up, 8. My last Sunday as a member of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church was this past Sunday. And we can talk about that.
And we will, because the media is saying stepping down as the elder at New Birth. When we come back, we'll talk about that, okay?
Yes,
Can we do that?
I'm ready to talk about it.
All right, we'll do that right here on Praise 102.5. Well, we're back and an exclusive talk and conversation, heart to heart, with Elder Bernice King today. Of course, Elder Bernice King, you know all over the media about you stepping down as elder at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. You want to?
And I heard I resigned.
Did you?
I was a little confused about that because I've never been on staff. I've never been an employee of New Birth.
Okay.
I didn't step down because I didn't step up. I was already an ordained minister when I got to New Birth, and elder, just as you know, happens to be the title that they use in their particular church. As Ebenezer would use reverend. So they're the same. So if you leave a Baptist church, they don't say you step down as reverend. But I am just no longer a member of New Birth. I occasionally worked in the pulpit and preached at New Birth, but that was the extent of my function at the church. But let me say this. When I came to New Birth, I came for a season. And I expected that season not to be quite as long as it was. And what happened is my mother, of course, passed in 2006. She started getting sick in 2005. While I was at New Birth, in fact, the Holy Spirit spoke to me about my next assignment. And I was wrestling, as I did with my calling. It took me 7 years to finally resign to my call into ministry. And it's about 7 years since the Holy Spirit spoke to me in a service that Bishop was ministering at. Of course, shortly thereafter, in 2005, my mother started getting ill, so I had to attend to her. Then she passed, and I had to deal with that whole grief cycle. Then suddenly my sister passed, and I had to go back through another cycle. And then suddenly we were involved in a legal conflict with our brother. Then I got this direction about SCLC. So through all of this, all things work together for good, as we know, to them that love the Lord and are the called according to the purpose. And this past January, I made the decision about not accepting the presidency of SCLC, and that was on the record. And at that point, I was faced again with this calling, this next assignment. And I started really praying and meditating over it. And I knew in 2009 that it was very present. And so for 2 years, I had really been heavily wrestling, but I couldn't reconcile SCLC and this new assignment together. And so once the SCLC situation cleared the air, I was faced once again. And as I prayed, I was released at that point to go to Bishop, and we sat down and talked, and I told him that I have to leave because my assignment that God has on my life, I must go and pursue, and that I will be leaving at the end of May. And that's what transpired. Of course, he gave me his blessings and supported me in it. And that was this past Sunday was my last Sunday. So that was at the beginning of April when we had that conversation.
So what do you say to those people that are listening now saying, wow, it's ironic all this happened at the same time, seemingly? What do you say to that? Because I want you to really clear that up, because some people thinking that
I can't clear up the mind of God. I have always followed what I believe to be the voice of God in my life. And I've sought to be obedient to that voice. Just as when I left my previous church, it was a very difficult decision, but I had to be obedient to leave and go to New Birth. And in this instance, it's the same thing. I know that I have a pastoral calling on my life, and I had to accept it. And I am in the process of pursuing that. And so this was the timing that God gave me at the end of May, and that's where my mind has always been focused. And I believe whoever you are, especially to your listeners, most of whom are Christians, when you're in leadership at a church, there's a way that you leave. You don't just leave, And so I did what I felt was appropriate in leadership, which was sit down and talk with him, and then gave the timetable as to when I would be leaving. And I didn't just go and then left the next day. I did what I thought was appropriate as a leader in the church, and that was the decision that the Holy Spirit placed in my heart, which was May 29th, the last Sunday in May, and I never wavered from it.
Well, when we come back, I want to continue talking about you moving forward. As we wrap up our conversation this afternoon, an exclusive. And Bernice, thank you, first of all, for giving us the exclusive. I really appreciate that, all right? Praise, thank you. I thank you. Go there, thank you.
Well, look here. I thank you all for allowing me this time. I thank you, especially G. And I want to thank the manager and the program director and my praised ATL family. I just thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and I want to thank all the media outlets that are here today too, to report on this, and thank them for reporting a positive story instead of a negative story.
So what's next?
I'm going to launch a ministry. I'm not calling it a church right now, because I believe that Christ builds his church, and I don't want to do that because what God is showing me doesn't look like what people are accustomed to. And I'm going to be spending time over the next several months preparing and building the foundation for that. And I'm asking everyone for their prayers as I go through this process. You know, I come from 4 generations of preachers, 3 generations of pastors. Although I've wrestled a long time with stepping into a pastoral function, I have now surrendered. I surrendered to God several months ago at the beginning of this year. I said I yield. I knew I could no longer fight the mandate on my life. And one of the things he told me is that I am to raise up kings for the kingdom. If Jesus is King of kings, who is he king of? Who are these kings in the earth? And so that is the mandate on my life as I, seek to educate, equip, and empower the kings for the kingdom. And so there will be more to come. I ask people to continue to stay in touch with my Be a King Facebook fan page. We will be on Twitter, and then my website. I'm at berniceking.com right now, but we will be rolling it out later in terms of the name of what it is. But let me just say this: my 8 years at New Birth, 8 years and 8 months, I was tremendously blessed by the ministry of Bishop. And I went through some very difficult seasons, as I shared in the beginning parts, with the death of my mother, and then my sister, and then the whole situation with my brother and the SCLC thing. And so as I said to him, and as I want to say today, I want to thank him and the New Birth family for all of their love and support during the time that I was at New Birth, and all of their prayers, and I appreciate it, and I know that they will continue to keep me in their prayers, just as Ebenezer is a part of me as my foundation, and Greater Rising Star Baptist Church, the church where I served as an assistant pastor for 10 years, and then now New Birth. They are all a part of me as I go forward and establish the work that God has called me to do, to oversee the people he assigns me to. And I know it's a remnant. I'm not into numbers, I'm into discipleship, because we must raise up true disciples of the kingdom of God, so that the kingdoms of this world can become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. And that is my mandate as I go forward. So thank all you listeners. Thank you, Rodell, once again, and Praise 102.5. I love you and appreciate you. And we will be back here next Tuesday for Praise Descendants.
Yeah, absolutely. Godspeed with you as well. And yes, as always, on Tuesdays, we have Raise the Standard Tuesday with Elder Bernice King. And we look forward to continuing that segment here on Praise. We've enjoyed you, and the listeners have enjoyed you.
I already spoke about it, and I have it down here again where Bernice King views. I want to just state that her views on homosexuality are no longer her views that she had before. So nobody has to worry about Bernice King not liking gays, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people first thought is she don't like gay people. No, that's not true. Okay, I'm gonna go down here and we're gonna go read exactly what it says for her. She's had a lot of legal issues come up against her. March Against Same-Sex. On December 11, 2004, King participated in a march against same-sex marriage in Atlanta. This action was in contrast to the advocacy of her mother, Coretta Scott King, and her older sister, Yolanda, both longtime outspoken supporters of gay rights. She was joined by senior pastor at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, Bishop Eddie L. Long, who said in a written statement that the march was not to protest same-sex marriage, but to present a unified version of righteousness in justice. At the same time of the march, King said she had become a spiritual daughter of Eddie Long's, and the issue of same-sex marriage legalization had left many divided. The question is, how do you overcome that pain, she said. It may be the wedge that stays with us for a long time. We have to get to a place where it does not become the most defining issue of our time, is what she said. She incorporated the King Center and the eternal flame at her father's tomb into the march. The King Center denied her permission to begin the march at her father's tomb and accused her of doing so to provide support for her own personal cause and to enhance her personal standing at New Birth. The event was also criticized by gay rights organizations, which stated it betrayed the legacy of her father. Chuck Bowen, a spokesman for Georgia Equality, stated that he was surprised to learn of the march and quoted saying, "I think it's very sad. I think she's abusing the good name of her father, Dr. King, and the work he did creating equality for all Americans." So she's had her own personal views, aside from her mother's, aside from her sister, regarding her thoughts and her own feelings on homosexuality and gay rights. In 2005, she led a march to her father's gravesite and at the same time called for a constitutional ban on gay marriage. She once said to LGBT supporters that her father did not take a bullet for the same-sex marriage people. But there's no quote, but it says here, during Atlanta's 2012 Martin Luther King Jr. Day rally, King included LGBT people among the various groups who needed to come together to fulfill her father's legacy. When speaking at Brown University in 2013, King made a statement regarding her beliefs about the origins of marriage. I believe that family was created and ordained first and foremost by God, that he instituted the marriage, and that's a law that he instituted and not that we instituted. And about the origins of same-sex attraction, I also don't believe everybody was born that way. I know some people who have been violated. I know some people have unfortunately delved in it themselves as an experiment. King has publicly stated that her father would have been against gay marriage. Her statement was in contradiction of her mother, Coretta Scott King, who was an avid supporter of the LGBTQ community and publicly stated her husband would have also been an avid supporter of the LGBTQ community. However, by 2015, it appeared that Bernice King had changed her stance on the matter of LGBTQ and same-sex attraction and marriage, as she issued a press release as the CEO of the King Center supporting the Supreme Court's same-sex marriage ruling, which, like I said, was Barack Obama's term. So yeah, her views on homosexuality and gays have changed. She's never been with a man that we know of publicly, and she does not have children. And she's masculine. She has this masculinity, this hardness about her. So a lot of people, I believe, it's not far from a lot of people's mind to think that she is gay or may like or be attracted to women because of how she carries herself and how she walks and how she stands and how her demeanor is. It's a lot about her that makes you feel like she is a Navy veteran, like she comes from the Navy, or like she come from working in the prison or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's her whole demeanor. But like I said, her stance on homosexuality has changed. She is no longer thinking the way she used to about homosexuality. I just want her to say what she feels her father would stand for. Like her mother spoke out and said, I wonder what she thinks now that she is, no longer at New Birth, if that was being an influence on her. And was New Birth an influence on the way of her thinking? Was it? Now can she say that if that was? I don't know. I have many questions for Dr. King if he was still alive, but I have a lot for Bernice King as well, as she is still alive. Never thought about speaking with Dexter or Martin, although I've met both of them. I've met Coretta Scott King. I've taken pictures with Coretta Scott King, but I've never really had a conversation or spoken with Dexter or Martin. But I know Bernice King very well. I've introduced Jay to Bernice King. He's met Bernice King. He's also met and had held several conversations with Kendra King, which is the cousin to Bernice King, and a very close, dear mentor, another mentor of mine that is I'm much closer to than I am Bernice, because as you know, Bernice is very busy, so I'm close to her, but she has other people in her camp who you can attach to, and Kendra is somebody who I really love, and Elder Drain, who is with Bernice all the time. They were all ordained elders by Bishop Long. So Elder Bernice King, Elder Drain, and Kendra King. She was not ordained, but she is now a minister with her husband Momin, Elder Momin, who I believe is Minister Momin now. Anyway,
This is the Urban Binge Radio. Sunday Flow.
Of an adult world, they are born. A spirit so innocent, do we teach them how to hate? Add to the world's confusion. We teach our kids rules that we don't adhere to. Ourselves, right or wrong, what examples can they take? The people we learn from, forge the ideas we become.
Living in a world they didn't make. Living in a world that's filled with hate. Living in a world where grown-ups break the rules.
That's just
living in a world they didn't make. Paying for a lot of adult mistakes. How much of this madness can they take our children?
To become our young adults, problems of the world. They must learn how to confront, doing drugs, joining gangs, to rebuild colors, so they belong to the social override. 'Cause they're living in a space and they fill out a place.
Living in a world they didn't make. Living in a world that's filled with hate. Living in a world where grown-ups break the rules.
They're just
living in a world they didn't make. Paying for a lot of adult mistakes. How much of this madness can they take our children?
they're just
Living in a world they didn't make. Living in a world that's filled with hate. Living in a world where grown-ups break the rules.
They're just
living in a world they didn't make. Paying for a lot of adult mistakes. How much of this madness can they take our children?
drugs and crime spreading on our streets. People can't find enough to eat. Hey, now our kids can't go out and play. No, no, that's the state of the world today. Oh, save the babies. Save the babies. How much can they take? How much can they take? Save the babies. Oh, save the children. How much can they take? Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Sing. Oh my God. Sir, sing the song. Who y'all always sleep on, like I always say, is B Slade. That is B Slade. Okay, the person that sings my intro, the person that does the exit for the Urban Binge is B Slade. Now for this show, Sunday Flow Show, of course, as you know the voice. That is Kierra Kiki Sheard for this show. But any other show on the Urban Binge or on Rebel TV, on Rico Blucci, Rico Live is B Slade. Okay, opening and closing. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay, that was B Slade, Living in the World. Make sure you guys go check out his Bandcamp. Okay, I can't stress it enough. If you want to hear the music, everybody be like, who that last song is? It's called Disguise by B Slade, and the first one is called Established by B Slade. That's the intro and the exit. Disguise is the exit, Established is the intro, and that song was called Living in a World. Living in a World was the final song. I've tried to mix them up a little bit so that you guys, so that it doesn't take away from the original piece. I really apologize if I did take away from the original piece, but that's what we're going to do over here. We're going to play music and we're going to inspire people right here on YouTube and right on my podcast, Rico Live on YouTube and the Urban Binge Radio on the podcast. Make sure you guys check it out.
The Urban Binge Radio Podcast,
where we discuss viral topics, hot jams, new artists, fun, and informative interviews and conversations. This is your new stop for the hottest trend in urban culture news, 2 shows, 1 podcast, The Urban Binge Show and Sunday Flow Show powered by The Urban Binge.
The Urban Binge Radio Podcast. Listen anywhere podcast can be heard.
Haters like, am I going to hell for the things that I could wear? I ain't gonna hide my blessings when I know